Slavery is not over. It's still here. You may not see it, you may not recognize it, and that's why I want to do this video. Approximately 50,000 people are human trafficked in the United States every year. It's good to be aware of what's going on because people's livelihoods, people's life, people's souls, people's being is being stolen from them. And what if there's something that you can do to help?
Lila, let's talk.
If you have any concerns regarding human trafficking, whether you are a current victim, if you are a survivor, if you can share any information at all, here is the human traffic hotline. It's 1-888-372-7888. Hello, this is Lila Talks. I'm Lila, and today we're going to talk about a very serious topic and a very important topic. This is January, and it is, if you don't know, Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Human trafficking, I think, is one of the worst things that is happening in the 21st century. Yeah, everyone thought slavery was over, I think it was 1865. That's not the case. Slavery still exists. It is heartbreaking to hear young ladies, young boys, human beings being kidnapped, tricked, extorted, taken away from their family, their country, and sold to others. People looking at them like cattle, inspecting them, seeing if they're good enough. It's disgusting. To be honest, I don't understand why it's not a bigger deal. I don't understand why people are not furious about this, are not horrified by the facts of this nature. And so I'm thinking, maybe people don't know. Maybe you or other people aren't really clear on what's going on with human trafficking. So in this video, I'm just gonna go over a few things that I've learned along the way regarding the facts on human trafficking. Who are the victims? Who are the traffickers? How do they go about coercing and forcing people? What country of origin are these victims mostly from? Where do they go? What are the destinations of these countries? What is our conception or misconceptions about prostitution? What are governments doing about it? What can they do? What can you do? These are all things that I hope will provide a starting point or a continuous conversation about human trafficking. I know it's a serious topic and you gotta be in the mood to watch a video like this, but it's important. And I really encourage you to watch the whole thing and read the links that I have below in the video description. Don't just stand idly by. Before we get started, I am not an expert. I am just a person, a concerned citizen of humanity, and I think this is a really important topic, and since I have this platform, I think it's only fitting for me to speak on it based on the information that I have acquired and learned, not just using the internet, but also friends who work in this space regarding supporting survivors. There's two types of trafficking for the most part. There's labor human trafficking, and then there's sex trafficking. Sometimes it's both, labor and sex trafficking. Now, who are the victims? Typically, the victims are people in vulnerable situations. Teenagers who are homeless, for example, in the States. People who don't have any means to provide for themselves or their family. And so they are desperately seeking for a different life, a better life. Most of the time, it's individuals, particularly folks abroad, who are seeking a better life in Europe or in America. A lot of people have this glorification or this idolization that things are better over there. They don't have the same problems that I do. Maybe they've heard of people who live in those countries, and so they're gonna do whatever it takes to get there. They might be trusting the wrong person. People take advantage of the desperation that these folks have. Most victims of human trafficking are women. It's approximately about 71%, including women, adult women, as well as young girls, women. So that's about 71%, which is a lot of people. And that primarily is focused on sex trafficking. Men are also victims, particularly men from West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. I'm gonna go by each continent for the most part and give you a quick overview of what I found online. Conflict zones or areas of crisis, so whether it was the crisis at the time, Lebanon, and the crisis more recently in Libya, where everyone left the country and then they left their domestic workers to be plucked by traffickers. They were left vulnerable, not having any options, looking for work, and that just created a mechanism where a pipeline of human beings being trafficked there. As you can see in these horrific pictures that I'm showing you regarding Libya.
That's good. That's good.
This man, stripped naked, is being told to stay silent as he's burned with what's said to be molten plastic. In another video, people are being beaten as kidnappers discuss ransom money.
I mean, look at these horrific, brutal images as if we're in the 18th century. This is modern day slavery. Ethiopians and Eritreans, in the last 10 years, there's a lot of, unrest in Eritrea. And so people were trying to find every way possible to leave the country. In fact, about 250 people died a couple years ago in the Mediterranean Sea. So yes, they were being smuggled, I believe, knowingly, but that's showing the level of desperation people have to seek a better life. And those are the ones who tend to be vulnerable and tricked. And so in Africa, a lot of the folks are sent to Western Europe, Southern Europe, as well as the Middle East. Now, in regards to Europe, the majority of victims in Europe come from Eastern Europe, and then they're moved to Western Europe and Southern Europe. Moldova is unfortunately the hub of human trafficking in Europe. Unfortunately, 10% of their population has been trafficked. 10%. Yeah, it's horrific. A lot of that stems from the vulnerability. So when the Soviet Union fell, a lot of people left the country to find other opportunities. Unfortunately, they left their children. And when they left their children, it was government institutions that had orphanages to raise or, support these orphans. And so these orphans were vulnerable. They had no one else to turn to. So after they left, there's actually been a few documentaries that show that these orphanage directors were in cahoots with the traffickers. So as soon as they were of age, the traffickers were right there outside. Just there. As far as in Asia, Thailand is a huge sex exploitation. In fact, a lot of pedophiles go there. Yeah, right next door, Cambodia. Fortunately, the statistics show about 90% of parents sell their children into the sex industry. Now I'm going to cover the profiles of the typical trafficker. Let's get to who are these people? Who are involved in being the traffickers? Well, typically it's organized crime. So whether it's the mafia, whether it's smugglers, current or formal drug dealers, it could be someone that you know, it could be a family friend, it could be someone that you perceived as trusting, could be a romantic partner. Just like any crime, murders, they typically tend to be people that you know. So it's not just this stranger who just comes and kidnaps you. They kind of penetrate in different sneaky ways. A lot of the times the traffickers will post job ads, have an interview, go through a process, and how all accommodations met. And these people are thinking, yeah, this is great. This is my big break. This is what I need to do to have a better life for myself. But it's not what it seems. This is an organized crime that has claws everywhere. But trafficking wouldn't be possible without some type of government cooperation. Claws in government organizations. Whether it's paying off high position government officials or low level, it doesn't matter. Immigration, custom, police officers, border control, airports, airlines. These are folks that are involved in making this happen. This is not just a few bad guys. No, it is a sophisticated network of people. The traffickers have all this intelligence information regarding their family, their friends, and they use that to scare them, to put fear in them, saying, I will kill you, I will kill your family if you do not go through with this. If you speak out or say anything or make a scene at the airport as we are transporting you. And we'll get to that in a bit about, looking out for the signs. Traffickers forge or take individuals' passports away. They're trafficked through, buses and airports. And so here are some of the things to look out for, to be aware as you travel, whether it is, domestically or even internationally, warning signs of someone being a victim of human trafficking. Are they giving you eye contact? Are they being hesitant? What's the relationship with that person that they're with? Do they legitimately look like they're in fear? And the trafficker's main objective is to control and manipulate people. So much so, down to them being dehumanized, that that person relinquishes any pushback and gives full submission. Even if they're not physically there, mentally they have totally taking control of that person for them to be able to walk freely amongst us in society. Whether they are being locked in a room for days and weeks, being drugged and forced into sex, forced to drink their own urine, beaten down time and time again, trying to escape. This is horrible. For what? For a person who applied to a job, who thought they were going to be a domestic worker, work at a restaurant, thought they're going to have a good life, they could make some money and send some money back home. They thought, whatever's going on in my life right now in this country, my problems will be solved once I'm in America, once I'm in Europe. I see all these different commercials and ads on animal rights. I get it. It's sad that pets are being mistreated. I'm talking about human beings, your own species, being treated like a dog, or worse. At least a dog gets taken out of the room every now and then. Some people don't even get that. Their souls have been crushed. Their identity of who they are, their hopes and dreams. Can you imagine if you had a dream and you wanted it so bad, you wanted that job, you wanted something so bad, and someone took advantage of that and tricked you and switched the situation where they took that dream and made it a nightmare. They were forced into labor, they were forced into sex. Oh, by the way, someone needs some organs, so we're just gonna go ahead to the clinic and we're not even gonna give you much medication, helping you with the pain. We don't care about you, we don't care about your pain. We're gonna cut you open, sew you up. If you have an infection, they don't care. How devastating is it that maybe your own family or friend or the person you fell in love with forced you and coerced you, manipulated you, and used fear and intimidation to control you? Now in America, yes, there is human trafficking that's going on. Teens who are homeless, where people are coerced or tricked into prostitution or forced against their will. America tends to be more of the destination. Look at this map here. It's a heat map of all the victims that are detected, right? Because this is something that isn't easily detected all over the US. Look at the red spots. Look where they are. California, Florida, New York, New Jersey, sprinkles in Texas. And look at the age groups. Majority of the time it's people or children from 15 to 17 years old. These are the customers. These are the clients that are receiving the human trafficked victims from Eastern Europe, Africa, the Caribbeans, Central America, South America. That's where they're going, to those states. 100,000 children are sold in the United States. The International Labor Union estimates about 21.9 million labor traffic victims. Wow, that's a lot of people. Pretty Woman is one of my favorite movies. As a prostitute in Los Angeles, and she gets swept off her feet by this Prince Charming man. But now, as I've gotten older and as I've learned more about human trafficking, about prostitution, I think there's something seriously wrong about that movie because it's glorifying and it's glamorizing prostitution in a way. Yes, there are some women who might see it as a way to have a sense of empowerment, but I think it's a dangerous thing when people watch that and they say, oh, look, they chose that. They chose to be a prostitute. Or yeah, they were down the dumps, but that's a life that they chose. It's up to them to get out of it. Whether they're strippers or they're prostitutes. That is actually the platform that human traffickers use to exploit women. Some are willing, and that's fine, I'm not talking about those people, but don't look at those activities as if all the women in that industry are there willingly, because they're not. Majority of the time, that is the forum that human traffickers use to exploit women. So even though they're not hidden, somewhere in an apartment and being trafficked, behind closed doors, doesn't mean it's not happening right in front of you. The girl that you see, walking down the street isn't necessarily there because she wants to be. But I think we really got to be careful at normalizing and generalizing what's happening in that industry. Majority of the time, it's creating a horrible culture of acceptance and compliance. It's just a facade. It's the front of a very ugly and dark situation. So just wanted to put that out there. Just to give you an example, here you can see a map that shows the criminal income earned from the exploitation of trafficking victims in different regions. In America, it's $400 a day. In certain parts of Central and South America, it's $5 a day. $5. That's a McDonald's meal. In some places, even in Thailand, it's less than that, about $3. How disgusting is that? Isn't that horrible? Can you imagine if that was you? What if you're one of these people? What if your daughter was one of these people? How would that make you feel? It's horrible. In 2018, President Donald Trump and his administration restricted the funding of legal services for victims of human trafficking. This is a pandemic. The trend line is going up and up and up. And therefore, we need more government institutions to step up not just in the US, even abroad. And I think a great example is Sweden. Sweden has done a phenomenal job crushing and deterring human traffickers. So they create a safe space for women. They are hard on crime, and so if someone's convicted, they're punished quite severely. So John's clients, potential clients, are scared to indulge. Human traffickers, from my understanding on the black web, that officials have said, are scared to do work there because there's too much heat there. And so there are ways that governments can take a stand. But if there's corruption, if people are being paid off from the top down all around, we need to put pressure on government to take stand. And not just write a policy, that's a start, but enforcing it and deterring traffickers from trafficking people. We need to do better for people. Seek more knowledge of the organizations that can help others, detect the warning signs, and then hopefully creating pressure to these government entities to do something about it. That's what you can do, because this shouldn't be happening. And I don't understand why more people are not talking about it, why they're not upset about it. Black Lives Matter, absolutely, but it's not in just the context of America and Europe. That's actually the destinations of where most of these human trafficking atrocities occur. And as part of the human race, we should not just stand idly by and, have ice cream and talk about the US political system and how horrible it is, and, taking advantage of all the freedoms and privileges that we have in the comforts of our own home, when there are people who are being exploited in the most brutal way possible. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And if you care about this at all, I beg you, and I don't beg often, to share this video or share just contents in the files that I've provided the links below, and just do something about it. So I know this was a heavy video, but I appreciate and I thank you very much for watching the whole thing, and I will appreciate it even more so if you take this information and pass it forward, and let's just help each other. We are all part of humanity. Please stay safe, protect yourself. Thank you.